voters, the biggest talking point in the first day of this year has been the interview given by Prime Minister Modi. A 95-minute long exhaustive interview that he's given, where he's spoken on a variety of issues. Now, we focused on the message by Prime Minister Modi against mob violence, lynchings and intolerance. We have focused on what Prime Minister Modi had to say about the farm crisis and how to deal with that and what the policies should be. Now we focus on what Prime Minister Modi said about the efforts taken by the government for the middle class. And the question that we are asking tonight on The Last Word is, has the government done enough for the middle class? In the run-up to the elections, a month away from budget, where there may be some more announcements, what is it that the government has done so far? Has that been enough? Prime Minister Modi, in his interview, said that the middle class is not a class of voters or citizens that likes sops, that is dependent on sops. They prefer to lead a life of dignity and self-respect. But that the government has done a series of schemes, all of which are intended to benefit the middle class. So tonight we are going to pick up on those schemes, speak about the benefits or the lack of it, and actually try and understand from you, the voter, if you agree with what the government has done and what the Prime Minister is saying. But before we start our debate, let's listen in to Prime Minister Modi.
मिडिल क्लास कभी भी किसी की दयादान पर जीने के स्वभाव का नहीं है। वे स्वाभिमान से जीने वाला वर्ग है और देश को चलाने में बहुत बड़ा योगदान देने वाला वर्ग कोई है तो मध्यम वर्गीय समाज है। नीचे का तबका है, उसको कुछ मिलना चाहिए, इसकी पॉजिटिव सोच रखने वाला भी मिडिल क्लास का है। और इसलिए भारत में मिडिल क्लास की चिंता करना हम हमारा दायित्व समझते हैं। देश हित में भी हमारा दायित्व, सिर्फ इसलिए नहीं कि वो हमें वोट देता है, देश हित में भी हमारा मत है कि भारत का बढ़ता जाता जो मिडिल क्लास वर्ग है उसकी चिंता करनी चाहिए। अब जैसे महंगाई, आप 2013-14 से निकालिए, इन्फ्लेशन क्या था, फिर मैं कहता हूँ अखबारों के कतरन निकाल के देख लीजिए, आज क्या है जी। हम 2% 3% पर लेके आएंगे इन्फ्लेशन, जो 18% पर पहुँचा था। इसका सीधा बेनिफिट किसी को हुआ है तो मध्यम वर्ग को होता है। महंगाई अगर कंट्रोल होती है तो सबसे बड़ा जो सुविधा बढ़ती है, क्योंकि मध्यम वर्ग का व्यक्ति चोरी नहीं कर सकता, मध्यम वर्ग का वर्ग सामाजिक स्थिति में उसको जो रहन सहन है उसमें गिरावट नहीं ला सकता है, उसको बहुत झेलना पड़ता है। वो हमने उस पर से मुक्ति दिलाई। मान लीजिए हम एजुकेशन में मेडिकल सीटें बढ़ाते हैं, बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में बढ़ाई, इसका सबसे पहला बेनिफिशियरी कौन है? मिडिल क्लास के जो एस्पिरेशंस है उसको मैंने एड्रेस किया। उड़ान योजना अगर हम लाते हैं और 2500 रुपये में देश के हवाई जहाज़ में लोग जाना चाहते हैं, समय बचाना चाहते हैं, वो जाते हैं। रेलवे के अंदर एसी कोच में ट्रैवल करने वालों से ज़्यादा आज हवाई जहाज़ में ट्रैवल करने वाली संख्या हो गई है। ये कौन लोग है? मिडिल क्लास है। उसको जाने की संभावना बनी तब जा रहा है। दूसरा, मिडिल क्लास के एस्पिरेशंस के वाले काम कैसे हो, जैसे ये आयुष्मान भारत योजना, लगता तो ऐसा है कि वो गरीबों को 5 लाख रुपए तक की बीमारी में मदद कर रहा है, लेकिन इसके कारण इतनी बड़ी संख्या में देश में अस्पताल बनेंगे, इसके कारण देश के अंदर इतनी बड़ी मात्रा में अस्पताल में लोगों की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी, ये सारे मिडिल क्लास के लोग होंगे। मिडिल क्लास के लिए मुद्रा योजना, अब मुद्रा योजना के अंदर करीब 15 करोड़ लोन स्वीकृत होना, इतना बड़ा काम है। इसका सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिशियरी कोई है तो मिडिल क्लास का व्यक्ति है। हमारे देश में मिडिल क्लास को अगर घर बनाना हो तो कभी बैंकों से ब्याज में रियायत उनको नहीं मिलती थी। नोटबंदी के बाद हमने मिडिल क्लास को घर बनाने की जो लोन है, आज अगर वो 20 लाख रुपए की कीमत का घर बनाता है तो 5 साल के बाद जो बैंक में उसको मदद मिलेगी, उसकी बचत करीब 5 से 6 लाख रुपया होगी। मिडिल क्लास के परिवार के 5 से 6 लाख रुपया मकान में बच जाना, ये बहुत बड़ी काम है, ये हमने किया है। उसी प्रकार से मिडिल क्लास के लोगों को आर्थिक विकास के लिए स्टार्टअप की दुनिया, आज पूरा स्टार्टअप एक प्रकार से मिडिल क्लास ड्राइव कर रहा है। स्टार्टअप को प्रमोट करने के लिए जो हमने योजना बनाई है, जिसका परिणाम है कि आज दुनिया में हम तीसरे चौथे नंबर पर, दूसरे तीसरे नंबर पे हम पहुंच गए हैं स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम से। इसका लाभ भी जो एस्पिरेशनल यूथ है मिडिल क्लास का, वो हिम्मत का साथ उसका फ़ायदा उठा रहा है। फिर छोटी छोटी सीधी बातें, जैसे एलईडी बल्ब, मिडिल क्लास के परिवार में अगर 10 लट्टू लगे हैं बिजली के, तो आज उसका 500, 700, 1000 रुपया बिजली का बिल कम हो गया, उसको बेनिफिट हुआ है। इनकम टैक्स में जो मदद मिली है उसको बेनिफिट हुआ है। पेंशनर जो कभी 13-14 हज़ार रुपया उसका पैसा का देना पड़ता था, वो आज उसको 2-2.5 हज़ार रुपया देना पड़ रहा है। तो कोई भी विषय ले लीजिए, मैक्सिमम अगर सुविधाजनक काम हुए हैं तो मिडिल क्लास के लिए हुए।
So let's say good evening to our panelists. Joining me this evening, Professor Aman Agarwal, Director for the Indian Institute of Finance. I also have Mr. Ram, Senior Journalist, and Bharat Kumar Roth is also a Senior Journalist. Ghanshyam Tiwari, Spokesperson for the Samajwadi Party, Rohan Gupta of the Congress Party, and Gopal Agarwal, Spokesperson for the BJP. Let me start with Mr. Ram first and ask him what he made of the comments that Prime Minister had to say regarding the middle class, and how the middle class does not need or expect sops, and that there are enough schemes that have that the government has come out with that enables this class and their aspirations. Mr. Ram?
I think the middle class is not one mass. The middle class is highly differentiated, and it's not clear what the definitions are, because there's an urban middle class and a rural middle class. There's an upper middle class and a lower middle class. So we don't quite know who he's talking about. But that is a sweeping generalization to say I don't know what SOPs mean either. There are welfare schemes, but any benefit is seen as SOPs in the media speak, and the Prime Minister seems to have adopted it. So it's a generalization. He's trying to woo sections of the middle class, and I wouldn't give more importance to it than that. Mostly non-concrete. I wouldn't use the word empty. There are some schemes, but non-concrete and sweeping in its liberalization is not going to make any impact.
Okay, let's begin with one of the biggest issues that we've also been talking about, which is employment and job creation, and that would be something that impacts citizens in our country. Now, where the employment figures show that the estimated number of people employed during October 2018 was about 397 million, 2.4% lower than 407 million employed in October 2017. And if I just go back to the CMI data that came out in July, it also spoke about how the data showed that employment has stagnated. We're not creating as many jobs. Now, the argument that is being presented by the government is that we are giving you the loans, we are creating schemes that are supposed to bring about more hospitals, that are supposed to bring about more doctors, that are supposed to give you the loans for your own businesses. So we are doing our bit. But is that enough, or should we now accept the fact that government's job is not creation but enabling? Mr. Ram.
Yes, Mr. Modi, remember in 2013 said he would create 10 million jobs. The government has failed miserably. Previous governments also failed, to be fair, to create jobs. And I think rather than talk about the temple on the grave of a mosque which was barbarically brought down, you've got to concentrate on economic issues. Primarily, one, unemployment and underemployment, which greatly affects the working classes as well as the middle class. Two, the agrarian crisis. It also there's the middle class which has been hit. And three, the devastating impact of demonetization.
Yes.
It's, of course, there's a lot of research, books have come out on it, and I think serious economists are unanimous that it had a devastating effect. Whatever be the claim about long-term benefits, it had a devastating immediate impact, short-term impact, medium-term impact on people who work for a living. And that includes very much the middle class. And this economy has not recovered from the devastating impact of demonetization. It's abundantly clear. Immediately, it seemed to deliver some political dividends to the BJP, to the Prime Minister, as we saw in Uttar Pradesh. Perhaps The working classes as well, the middle class thought the big guys were being hit. We can make that sacrifice. That was the interpretation in the media I read anyway. But the effects, the real life effects, the on the ground effects have been felt. And I think they've gone massively against the middle classes as well as the poor and the working classes. In fact, there's a book on this just come out called Demonetisation from Deprivation to Destitution. And there is considerable evidence that those on the borderline between the working classes and the middle classes have been pushed down
Yes.
Economically. Yeah.
Yes. So, Mr. Bharat Kumar Roth, would you agree that even though there may have been some government schemes that were aimed at helping the middle class, with GST and demonetization, there has been a larger damage that's been done, at least for now, and that the government may need to do a lot more to at least somehow do some kind of nullifying effect there?
You are absolutely right. Though Prime Minister has been making tall claims, if you remember 5 years ago, he had given a promise that by the end of his first term, he will be providing jobs to over 10 million people. And he is colossally wrong. He has proven to be wrong, and people are not getting the jobs. And if for BJP, middle class is the main bastion of their voting bank, then I think middle class is not at all happy with what has been happening. Forget demonetization. I'm not talking about demonetization at this stage. Later I will definitely talk about it. But as far as employment is concerned, whether the banks, the state governments, central governments, various corporations, schools, colleges, where is the employment? There are vacancies. Advertisements are made, but for 800 people, 800 posts of police, if there are 36,000 people, then what do we do? This is the type, and those for police constables, when the applications are coming, they are coming for PhD students, from postgraduate students. That only shows that there is a wide gap between what government has been promising and what people actually get. Yes. I think people are getting nervous now about the tall claims that have been made by the central government.
People are getting nervous about the tall claims being made by the central government. Mr. Gopal Agarwal, would you want to respond to what both of our journalists have said here before I go to our political representatives and other experts?
I think the issue is that there are some certain problems which are being blown and shown. These problems are there in the economy, and they have not been created in 4.5 years. What we have to analyze here is what has been done in 4.5 years to rectify those problems, and that was what the focus of Prime Minister's interview today was. Whether you look into the Mudra loan, whether you look into the infrastructure creation, whether you look into the problem of healthcare issues, whether the problems of agriculture sector, there has been a 360 degrees effort by the Modi government to improve the status what was in 2014 and what is there in 2018. These have to be compared. If there were only 25 crore bank account under Jan Dhan account in last 65 years, and now 34 crore accounts have been opened in 4.5 years, you will definitely have to say that there is a big achievement. But if you say that still there are people, unbanked people, definitely there are. In same way, there is an employment problem in the country. But how to tackle is an issue. How those problems will be tackled by the government? What can all those unemployed people be given employment from the government jobs? No, it is not possible. And if it would have been possible, we would not have seen such kind of unemployment. So we are trying to go on a path which the Prime Minister has said is the right path. There is a speed in that path. There is a definitely result-oriented approach, performance metrics, all these things. But we are saying that the work is under process and it is not finished. Therefore, we are asking for a second mandate. If
Okay.
the work is not yet finished, there is so many issues to be tackled.
Well,
but
okay,
we are
Mr.
giving a report card of what we have done in 4.5 years.
Okay, fair enough. So here's the BJP saying that the job's not done yet, but we are on the right path. Give us 5 more years. And it's also admitting that, of course, there is a problem when it comes to employment. Mr. Bharat Kumar Raut, I see your hand, but let me just quickly go across the entire panel and get everybody's remarks first. Rohan Gupta, there is merit to when the Prime Minister says that, well, we have reduced the inflation from the levels that it was during your tenure, during UPA 2's tenure. In FY13, the inflation consumer price index was at 10.21%. It's come down to 3.58%. Even if you see the wholesale price index, there is a relief that has come in. They are giving more loans out to start up your own businesses. So many people have benefited, 15 crore beneficiaries there. So must give credit where it is due, Rohan. The government has done quite a bit there for the middle class.
I think today Prime Minister missed opportunity to apologize to the country and especially the middle class who have been voter of Mr. Modi for years, who have voted Mr. Modi by heart and not by mind. I think the way, if you look at the middle class today, two major things. One is job and one is petroleum prices. It has hit middle class to the final nail because for a middle class, what is important is job. Mr. PM came to power by promising 2 crore jobs, and rather than creating job, they have destructed job. Note ban, which has the fatal impact on overall economy. 52% jobs in India are given by small and medium-sized enterprises, and they have collapsed. So obviously, jobs are going to reduce. On the other side, if you see Manrega, which was the major rural job creator, this government reduced employment under Manrega from more than 150 days
Manrega
to less than
was
50
not
days.
a job
so
creation
if you see
effort,
two
Mr.
major
Rohan.
factors which have Mr. I think you are not, if you see the rural area in Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh, Manrega was a big factor which gave employment to the rural unemployed. Now it is reduced by less than 50 days. That is a major
employment?
issue
It was
why
only
joblessness
a
has
subsidy.
increased. And as rightly told by one of the, I think you should not speak in between. Let me complete. I was silent. Please allow me to complete. If you see these two factors coupled by GST and others, SME has the worst impact as far as this government is concerned because of their policies. And second is petroleum prices. They have looted 10 lakh crores from the middle class. I think today PM, if he had apologized for his mistakes or blunders, maybe Mr. Gopal Agrawal was talking about second chance, people might have thought of it. But rather than talking about it, he again talked about, he talked about issues of loan and all. If you don't have job, how will you repay your loan? So I think the development of Mr. Modi is either seen in his lectures and his advertisement, and you cannot feel it. The middle class of this country has decided in last 5 state elections that they are going away from BJP. If you analyze the results carefully, this is the first time Congress party has gone more votes in urban areas compared to BJP. That is the, I think, sign of a major shift from BJP to Congress as far as middle class is concerned due to job, unemployment and price rise.
Well, I don't know if you can directly actually connect that to job, unemployment in those states, because those states also saw quite a bit of anti-incumbency. The party had been in power in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan for a while. So while even the traders had faced an impact and a negative impact of demonetisation and GST, many of them that I spoke with were still willing to give BJP a chance, at least in the centre. So I think the Congress needs to watch out for that a little. Ghanshyam Tiwari, your opening remarks, and then we go across to Mr. Aman Agarwal sitting next to you.
Well, Tanvi, a very happy new year to you, everyone on the panel and every one of your viewers watching this show. First and foremost, I think we are missing the political undertone of the interview. The Prime Minister recently was caught on the wrong foot saying Puducherry to ko Vadakam.
Yes.
So in this response, he wanted to correct that Puducherry to Vadakam and say what he has done for middle class. As far as middle class is concerned, on paper, the agenda he laid out is a good agenda. When he talks about affordable education, affordable housing, affordable healthcare, a notion of harmony, sabka saath, sabka vikas, mobility. These are good agenda for the urban middle class at least. But in practice, if you look at it, the education in the country has not improved. The affordable healthcare is just an ambitious scheme right now, which has not unfolded fully. As far as the affordable housing is concerned, the numbers are different from ground reality. Finally, the job creation, the Mudra scheme in Madhya Pradesh, on the election podium, Prime Minister spoke about how in Madhya Pradesh they have given 1 crore Mudra loans.
Yeah.
In a state which has roughly 1 crore 20 lakh male youths, it means that they have given a Mudra loan to almost every household, and that is not true. Your viewers will be watching. When Prime Minister says we have given 15 crore Mudra loans, it means that every one of your viewer or his neighbor has got Mudra loan, which is not true. So there is something that the Prime Minister's numbers, somewhere the Prime Minister's numbers do not add up. If anything, this government has done everything to attract middle class to vote for it when it wanted power. Lokpal was a demand by the middle class. Middle class wanted a corruption-free society. It came on the street alongside the country, various sections of society. but this government promised Lokpal, that never came. So across board, I believe that Prime Minister did try to offer a lip service, but it fell short.
Okay, try lip service, and that's an interesting point that Ghanshyam Tiwari has raised after that controversy that erupted. And of course, Smita Prakash also raised that issue of Puducherry ko Vanakkam, and that was what led to this entire conversation as well about the impact of demonetization on traders, of GST and the middle class. But Aman Agarwal, what's your own view? The fact that there is a job crisis, coupled with the impact that even the businesses have suffered because of few of these reform schemes, will that cost the BJP its middle class vote?
I think, first of all, I think it's a very good new year and a very good beginning for the year, with the briefing coming from none else but the Prime Minister about the way India has been going in the last couple of years and the way it is looking ahead for. I think it's a very good beginning, something which has never happened in this country in the past, and that is supposed to be welcomed. Important to be understood it, yes, there is a stagnation, as you pointed out, in figures in terms of jobs, but then there is at least stagnation. In the rest of the world, jobs have been falling down, and this is despite what has happened, serious steps, reform measures indicated by the Prime Minister in his speech, as well as by the other participants, clearly outlining as to what kind of a dent they have and could have made even further to the economy. Given that, if we have been able to stagnate job, if we have been able to keep our GDP growth figures above 7.3, 7.4, in certain economist analysis about 7.5% for the next 2 years, clearly by international agencies shows the fact that there is some kind of positivity in the activities which has been taken up by the government, despite the fact that there has been a dent which has been made, because we have been working on an informal economy, we have been working on a cash-based system, we've been working in a framework which was no way formal and never appreciated by the international agencies, by the MNCs, and even by people within the country. If you are giving that kind of a reform system, certainly there is expected to be. Now you have lived with a system for almost 6-7 decades of independence, and even prior to that, even when the British rule or even the Mughal rule was there was purely a cash-based system. Now a system which has got deep into the society for almost 2,000 years, you're trying to change it and formalize it. Naturally, that's going to create hits. But the fact that we have been able to make good hits internationally, and we are able to welcome people from the international community, within the community, to come forward and do work. When we talk of the way he spoke about the fact that the new entrepreneurs, the startups are coming up, the fact that the FDI has grown from 0.2 to $2.2 billion per month to roughly about $5.5 billion in a span of 10 to 12 years, clearly indicates the fact that there is an international consensus on the way India is performing as a country today, and not A region or B region or C region, which has been the case in the last so many decades, where we used to say, oh, A state is doing well, B state is doing well, and C state is doing well. We are looking at a total India. Certainly all of them are not at the same level, but certainly there is a move to bring them together and to move forward together. But then losses in politicals, I will not go into the political debate, but in economic front, I think we are fairly doing well as compared to what is happening around the world.
So just very quickly then, your thoughts on why is it that this is not reflecting in the consumer confidence? in what viewers and citizens and consumers are actually thinking and feeling. Because in my hand is the consumer confidence index and the statistics that RBI put out its own survey in March 2018, which showed that the confidence had actually dipped. In fact, various surveys that have been done also show that while the inflation has really gone down, the perception of inflation going down is very different, and many people who were surveyed actually believe that the prices have actually gone up. So there is clearly a difference between what the statistics are showing, even on those factors, Mr. Agarwal, and how the people are viewing it.
I'm happy you asked this question.
No,
First
but,
of all, when it comes to
I don't
inflation
know.
being felt going up, let us understand one small thing, that the fuel has been fueling inflation for the last 1 quarter.
Yes.
And I think it is, everyone would acknowledge it. Coming from the international community, or the fact that the government had followed as a policy of keeping it high, or the rupee falling down, had created that bump which kept the inflationary factor bump into the economic framework. So that is where it is feeling. As far as confidence is considered, I think we need to look at the way parameters are used to calibrate the consumer confidence. Large part of that framework, it looks at the amount of consumer spending which takes place in terms of going out and buying goods and services in the market. Now that has gone down tremendously because of large amount of cash liquidity going out, banks not being flush with money, regulators playing an excessive role, as we saw in the last couple of months with the RBI throttling about 11 banks, with the PCA not being allowed to do anything. You see recruitments being stopped in the banks in the last 2 years, a large number of banks. MSME segment, large segments, small segments not being given loans. Education loans cut down extensively. Loans to farmers cut down extensively. Now banks were playing too conservative, and they were restricted by the RBI policies which were being followed.
Yes.
Similarly, if you look at education, someone mentioned in our panel about education, almost about 800, 900 institutions have shut down in the last 1.5, 2 years because of the way regulators are trying to say that they are trying to bring about quality. Instead of quality, they are actually crippling the system. It is not the government which is crippling the system. So naturally, if an educational institution shuts down, you're looking at least about 30, 40, 50 jobs and another 20 ancillary industries which are going to go out of business. Now this is where we are seeing those consumer confidence go out, because that money from the pocket of people. But as far as middle class is concerned, because large part of their money came in through formal setups in the middle class, except for the business community where still they were hit majorly. But their figures don't come in the income tax because they were actually declaring much below as to what they were actually producing to the economy. So what got hit was that black money, pocket money, which was being hit majorly, and that's where the consumer confidence again went down. As against buying 4 mobiles, now they have to buy 1 mobile. As against changing mobiles every second day or buying a car every second year, that has gone down tremendously. But that doesn't mean that the consumer confidence has gone down. As I speak to people from all brackets, whether it is student community, whether it is people from the business community,
okay, fair enough. So largely what you're saying
very positive about the Modi flair and the government coming in the next elections.
So you're actually differentiating between your sentiment in general about the state of affairs, but actually linking that to the government's performance or blaming the government for that. That's the difference that Professor Raman is trying to make here. Although I disagree with you on the institution part, I believe that if there is a quality issue with our educational institutions, and that is a very, very big concern. You don't want badly taught, ill-equipped and badly skilled doctors and engineers roaming around in our country. So maybe the government does need to go there carefully, even though there is a huge shortage of doctors in our country right now, private and public sector put together. 2 people wanted to come in, Bharat Kumar Raut first and then Rohan Gupta.
Yes, if I had to ask, I would ask Mr. Gopal Agarwal and also Mr. Aman Agarwal one question, with all due respect to the strategy planning of BJP in general and Prime Minister in particular. Just show me. I come from Mumbai. I'm a citizen of this Mumbai city, and here apart from entrepreneurs, the middle class is the largest class here. And where are the beneficiaries of the Janadhan Yojana or other loan schemes or the Make in India? Where are the beneficiaries? Show me one beneficiary as per your figures. It looks like that every other person has got the benefits from the government schemes. Government has drawn the schemes. It has implemented schemes. We have seen them on television and we have seen them on newspaper ads. But where is the implementation? What is the ground reality? Have people really got the money, or they are only in the banks or in somebody else's? Has somebody blocked the money? Unless that those figures come to fore, it is futile to make any discussion on the implementation or the effect of the schemes that Modi has pronounced now and again.
Mr. Gopal Agarwal.
No, yeah, I would like to just tell that the beneficiaries are actually clearly identifiable. When you talk of Jan Dhan account, it is the poor and the backward classes or in the remote areas that more accounts have been opened. And when you talk of Mudra loan account, these numbers, whether it is 12.5 crores of Mudra loan account, though some are loans which were renewed, but more than 50% are new loans. And definitely those enterprises either were running before also, but the loans they have taken for the first time. So, and there are overlap of the beneficiaries, and at present it
but
is
Mr.
more than
Agarwal,
25
where are the
people
beneficiaries?
who are
Where are the
beneficiaries of one
beneficiaries?
or multiple.
Can you publish a list of beneficiaries?
They are across India. We have the government has the data of everything. Whether if you talk of our bank, we have the data, how many bank loans, whom we have
You don't
given.
have
All
unemployment
things
data.
are documented. If we are open 34 if 34 crore accounts have been
everything
opened,
is on
Jan Dhan
paper.
account, you want to say that the government doesn't have the data for that account. If the people have moved from the informal economy to the formal economy, or number of registered organization under indirect tax has increased from 65 lakhs to 1.2 crores, is it not substantiated by actual documentations? This is and from where you are saying that there is no data. So I think you are quite misinformed about the data of beneficiaries. It is available with every institutions, and on the macroeconomic parameters, all the parameters are all statistically institutions have given those. Whether
Let me ask you another question, Mr. Gopal.
Whether it is FDI flow.
See, it is really unfortunate.
The number of
Mr. Gopal, let me come in now. I think your time is over.
Yes, okay. Rohan Gupta also has a question for you.
Let me ask very simple question. See, 4.5 years, after 4.5 years, it is time for Prime Minister and government to tell country what they have done, what are the promises they have given and what is the delivery. Rather than that, the tone of Prime Minister today was to ask for more time. I think people of this country, they have given enough time to Prime Minister. They had faith on him, but I think that faith is shattered now. As far as middle class is concerned, it is the worst affected class of society because of the worst policy of this government. I'll give you 3 more examples. The tax on share trading, which was never taxed in India. This is the first time government has imposed tax on share. Number 2, the bank charges. Mr. Gopal was talking about bank accounts. Worst ever bank charges. If you withdraw money from ATM, there are charges. This government has looted 8,000 crores out of bank charges from middle class. Number 3, SMEs. If any SME goes to the bank for new loan, they don't get the loans because the crony capitalists, because of 10 lakh crores of Nirav Modi and Mr. Mehul Choksi, these small traders are not getting loan. See, come on, if they don't have money to repay their loan, they don't have jobs, they are impacted by petrol and diesel prices, how the Prime Minister can say that he has supported him? His Vikas is only visible in his Mann Ki Baat and his advertisement. Unless and until people feel it, how can you just go on claiming these things? You have seen 5 state results. People have rejected your narrative.
Fair enough.
You are adamant on that.
Yes, Gopal Agarwal, 30 seconds to you to respond to that, and then I move on to the other aspect and the GST and what Prime Minister said on that. But Gopal Agarwal, your response.
The issue is we have given 12.5 crore mudra loans, and the names which Mr. Rohan Gupta was taking, whether it was Nirav Modi or whether Mr. Choksi or Vijay Mallya, those loans which have become NPA have been given under the period of 2006 to 2000. for 12, and within a period of 6 years, the number of outstanding loan to corporate houses increased from 18 lakh crore to 52 lakh crore within that 6 years period of UPA rule. And now they are talking, and that has become, and most of that has become NPA, and now they are
You
talking
just give
that
your
how this
statistics.
NPA
The
has
country,
come, and
people
who
of
has
country
given
have
this
made
loan.
their mind.
We have given Mudra loan of 12.5 crores.
15 crore,
People,
12.5
we
crore.
are giving SME loans,
I
we are
get
giving
confused.
agriculture loans,
That's
and
the
the
problem with
corporate loans were given
your
by the
statistics,
Congress
Mr.
and UPA
Agarwal.
government.
That is a problem with
The
your statistics. Your numbers keep changing all
Yeah.
the time. It becomes difficult to keep a track of what's the latest number. 15 crore beneficiaries of Mudra loan, or 12 crore rupees, or 12.5 crore rupees, as you are saying. Also, just want to point out that as per a response to an RTI query, the number of large size loans, which would be 5 lakh and above, which would actually help people in setting up businesses, was just about 1.3% of these loans that you had disbursed. Of course, the benefits of Mudra loan will probably
No,
take
but
some more
it
time
will
to
create
come
job,
out.
but at least it will.
At
No,
least,
if you say that out of the total number of Mudra loan, all have not created job, that cannot be. At least one job will be created to one person who gets a loan of 50, average of
report by
56,000
think tank.
rupees. If
Why
anybody
you
gets,
A
work only
report
on
then
by a
at least
think
assumptions?
it will
tank,
create.
Scott,
Why your
actually.
CMI
Okay,
data doesn't support
above
your
5
claim?
lakhs is the.
As per data of Center for Monitoring Indian
No,
Economy,
at least if you say
unemployment is
that.
highest in last 20 years. Mr.
No,
Gopal,
if
your
you
numbers
say,
must support the statistics, right?
if you say,
CMI data says that unemployment is highest in last
if you
20
say
years.
that the.
How would you counter that?
Okay, if you say that 5 lakh and above loan were given only 1.7 crore, at least that number of jobs have been created above 5 lakh
I am not saying
Mudra
anything.
loan. Other
Center
loans may
for
not have
Monitoring
created
Indian Economy,
multiplication
they have
of
published
jobs,
numbers
but
which
there
says
are
that
no,
unemployment
but
is highest in last 20
infrastructure.
years. How would you counter that?
If you I tell you, the issue is, if you are creating roads by 27 kilometers per day, is it being done without job creation? If the houses are being built
I am asking
to the
simple
tune
question
of
on the numbers by
around
your
2
agency,
crores,
the
are
government
those
agency.
Okay,
and
this
It
is a
says that
debate that
unemployment is
but
highest.
will go on endlessly, because the fact of the matter is we do not have
those data
clear
are about the
concrete data.
government jobs.
We do not
They
have
derive the
clear
figure.
concrete
They
data. The
don't talk about the
ministry
direct figure.
doesn't publish that figure. The employment
So
survey
this is
has
not the
also
problem
stopped.
of 4.5
So how will
years.
we know? Now you and I and Mr. Rohan Gupta and our other panelists can actually keep going back and forth on whether or not you're creating jobs or not. Largely what we can then also judge is from the sentiment on ground. Ghanshyam Tiwari, I see your hand, but just give me one more minute, please. One of our viewers also wants to come in, and let's listen to what Mr. Damodar from Chennai has to say. Go ahead, please.
Very good evening, and thank you, Tanvi, for joining me on the show. I feel as a middle class, Modi has done quite a few things. For example, if it is digital India, I am now able to pay my electricity bills on time and on the mobile phone. Second, if it is gas booking, I remember before 4 years, I had to go or continuously call my gas booking agency, and the gas was getting delivered in 10-15 days. Today I just book it on the Umang app. It is delivered the next day. I, as a middle class, I don't mind paying additional 200-300 rupees, by which the poor is getting the subsidies. Thirdly, for my grandmother, every year she had to go and give the pension certificate. Today it is done online. I think tax slabs have got reduced. Home loan subsidies are there. I still remember I was paying 11-12% per annum per month for ICICI Bank. However,
Yes.
the tax is now reduced to 8-9%. That means a lot to me as a middle class. That's it, what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you for joining and sharing your views. Fair points there. The digital India seems to have benefited quite a bit, and at least many in urban India's Ghanshyam are very happy with the fact that life has become so easy when it comes to paying your bills or doing your transactions. You don't have to run around government offices anymore.
Well, first and foremost, if somebody is finding the government delivering to their expectations, it's a welcome news. As far as the aspects of such news is concerned, for example, job creation, right? We may not have data of job creation, but there is data from Tamil Nadu to Uttar Pradesh. For every one job that either the Indian Railways advertised or Uttar Pradesh government advertised, we heard more than 300 applicants applied. And when you look at the jobs that Railways advertised, for 1 lakh jobs, some 2.3 crore people applied. So that is very clear that there is a distress over there. Second, with respect to digital India, yes, but with respect to digital India, the government, if they had wanted, they would have been able to do more. With respect to banks itself, as Professor Aman Agrawal was saying, just yesterday's newspaper carried the headline that Indian banks faced 41,000 crores of frauds. So and that was a sharp rise from the previous year. So this is an incomplete agenda. The Prime Minister in 2014, around the same time, used to speak about Achhe Din. I would have expected today in 2019 around the same time he would say that Achhe Din are here, or at least he would have promised again that give me another term and I'll bring Achhe Din. This whole concept of Achhe Din is now gone. That demonstrates that Prime Minister does not have confidence on the agenda that he promised he would deliver. The only time he could quote his manifesto today in this 195-minute interview was when he quoted it on Ram Mandir, which was page number 40 of the manifesto. What happened to the other 39 pages which promises about jobs, which promises about education, healthcare, a bunch of things. So I think it's an unfinished agenda. There would be people who would be happy on part of the agenda, but at a larger scale, the youth are unhappy. They are not voting for BJP. The rural distress is rising. We talk about inflation. Just today's newspaper carries the headlines about how the rural inflation has gone down compared to urban inflation, which is a sign of rural distress. Farmers are producing more, but they are being able to sell their produce at a very, very low cost.
Right.
As a result, consumption is down. So there are very other aspects that are also important as when you look at middle class.
Okay, and you know something that he said in those comments about how middle class doesn't expect sops, that they are actually the contributors to building the nation. It also gave me a sense, Mr. Ram, that perhaps Mr. Modi is also indicating that this is the set of people who will have to cough up more on taxes, who will have to pay, tax on fuel, assess for farm crisis, assess for drought, assess for the roads, assess for statues, for education, says that you will have to continue to pump in that money, while maybe at some point I will look at some relief for the other categories. Would that be, would you agree with that reading, or did you see his comment differently, Mr. Ram?
Yeah, I think it was hard to decipher what he meant when he said that the middle class doesn't want sops, and what sops are, as I said earlier. Now, I can tell you one thing. Tamil Nadu is the one state in the country that has a universal public distribution system, and one major state anyway. I know that the middle class is very happy with this. Now, is a PDS, a universal PDS, a SOP, or something better than that, or something quite different from that? That's a question we need to answer. But the middle class is enthusiastically buys into this, participates in this PDS, and it works extremely well. There's a lot of corruption involved in Tamil Nadu. It's one of the most corrupt states. But so far as the PDS is concerned, it works beautifully, and the middle class is fully engaged in this on this issue. So I think it's all right to make pious statements that you've got to contribute more, or imply that make sacrifices or whatever, and we provide relief. But it is, as I said earlier, a sweeping generalization about what people want, which is just pre-election rhetoric.
Okay. The other aspect that I wanted to bring in is what Prime Minister said about, while he was giving examples of schemes that help the middle class, he also mentioned Ayushman Bharat, and he said while it's an insurance scheme for the poor and the underprivileged, the fact is that you will end up building more hospitals, which will need more people, more hospital staff and more working staff, and that will create more jobs for the middle class. But I find that a little far-fetched, Mr. Gopal Agarwal, because the fact of the matter is we are already facing a shortage of doctors. Mr. Ram, did you wanted to come in on that aspect?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Before Mr. Agarwal
No,
gets his turn.
the Prime Minister has very categorical.
One minute, Gopal Agarwal. Let Mr. Ram make his point, and then you can respond to both of us. Yes.
I think what India needs is universal health care, at least starting at a primary level. These insurance-backed schemes, they deliver some benefit. I think they started in Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu has it. And I think some of the big hospitals benefit a great deal. And healthcare does not reach the people who really need it desperately. There's no question about it. I belong to a group called the Kolkata Group, chaired by Professor Amartya Sen. And year after year, we emphasize the need to push the government, whatever government is in power, to bring into place universal healthcare, starting with the primary level. And of course, some states can do better than that. But we are moving in another direction. So I think this doesn't meet the real demands of the people of this country. And this includes the middle class, because the middle class is very badly hit.
Yes.
Often when the health crisis hits them.
Yes, for sure. And a universal health insurance or a larger insurance scheme, health plan actually would be beneficial. But to the question of job creation, Mr. Gopal Agarwal, you are already struggling with shortage of doctors. Wow, how is Ayushman Bharat then helping the middle class in any way with more jobs? There we don't have enough doctors to even service the current hospitals, government or private.
No, the issue, Tanvi, is what is the objective of Ayushman Bharat? It is not job creation that we are saying that Ayushman Bharat will create job. It is only a healthcare scheme which is giving provisioning
That's what PM
for
has
the
said.
good health of the common man. And see, in 100 days, Ayushman today has completed 100 days, and more than 36,000 crores have been given as a benefit of healthcare to the common man, and several lakh people have already got benefited out of Ayushman Bharat. The issue is that it is a cover which will...
No, I know what the scheme is, Mr. Gopal Agarwal. You and I and Mira now here has discussed the scheme and how it's working on ground multiple times. That's not the point. Prime Minister Modi himself cited the Ayushman Bharat scheme to say that more hospitals means more jobs for the hospital staff, and so it is beneficial for the aspirational middle class, which is why I asked you that question, because I didn't understand how that is going to help. You need to probably focus more on more institutions and educational institutions to create, to ensure that your vacancies for existing shortage gets done. I'm completely out of time, so I'm going to thank all of our panelists for joining us on this very constructive...
It will create a demand. How the economy works?
It will create a demand. You already have a demand. Please fulfill that demand. There is an intense shortage of doctors and medical staff already existing in our country that the government has to take notice of and has to address. Now, of course, it's going to take time, because you will have to set up educational institutes who can actually produce those kind of doctors and the medical staff that we need. But that is what has to be done, and perhaps that is what will help the middle class. Thank you to all our panelists for joining us this evening for a constructive, calm and peaceful debate that we just had on what the Prime Minister Modi comments were regarding the middle class and whether or not the government has actually done enough for the middle class. I think from tonight's interview, the indications that have come is that perhaps Prime Minister Modi right now does not want to look at a national farm loan waiver, or does not want to look at even too many sops for the middle class. Keep this in mind as we go towards and near the budget announcement that happens in less than a month from now. The other big aspect is that yes, he is admitting there were problems with the GST, that people felt the pain of demonetization, but largely the direction in which the government is going is the right direction, and that they need more time to fulfill their promises. Whether or not the people of this country will give the government a second chance and understand what Prime Minister Modi was saying tonight and buy his argument, we will have to wait and watch and see on that. But thank you so much for joining us on this debate.